But let's say this year, I just want to build a 100 million annual business. Very easy. I can probably do that in my sleep, right?
I think it's official that you're the fastest growing supplement brand.
This type of growth typically takes about 4 to 5 years to hit about 100 million ARR. Our goal originally was like 20 to 25 million USD, and we ended December last month at 10 million monthly revenue, right? Which puts us at already 120 million ARR run rate after 12 months.
Danny Yeung is the CEO and founder of Prenetics, the company behind IM8, a supplement brand that has honestly taken the DTC market by storm, going from 0 to 120 million ARR in its first year.
I think one of the key metrics that we looked at early on was the period of time it takes for us to recoup that customer acquisition cost. Because that then allows us to either dial back on scaling or scale faster and etc. So we specifically price our product higher on Amazon than our own website. We really wanted to own that customer journey. We felt that was really, really important. If there's an issue with shipping or whatever, you're limited to what you can actually control.
All right, Danny, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So Danny Yeung is the CEO and founder of Prenetics, the company behind IM8, a supplement brand that has honestly taken the DTC market by storm, going from 0 to 120 million ARR in its first year. IM8 is known for its daily powder, which is sold in subscription, and also for its powerhouse celebrity endorsements with David Beckham and Ariana Sabalenka. Danny, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So I want to start we'll get into IM8 very detailed, but I do want to start with high level product idea inception. How did you get here? What was that first conversation with David Beckham like?
Yeah, so to be fair, this conversation happened in the summer of 23. Of course, as you mentioned, I run a public company called Prenetics. We're listed on the NASDAQ. Right at that time we were looking for a new growth engine. Because previously we did really well during COVID. We had pivoted to doing like 800 million revenue over a course of 3-year period of time. But of course, that went away post-COVID. And just through my business network, I had a very good friend, Michel Lamoureux. He works closely and is a friend of David's. And then we're here in Hong Kong. And Michel, I was having dinner with Michel. He's like, hey, what are you doing in the coming weeks? He's like, hey, he's going to fly over to London to meet with David Beckham. He asked me, do I want to join him? Right, literally, like very casual.
Can't say no to that.
Yeah, I was like, I'm like, are you sure I can go? Right? Normally, you're like, hey, you're not sure if he's joking or kidding or not, right? Because it's like, David's not just gonna meet with anyone, correct?
Amazing.
And I was like, if that's okay, happy to go, right? So 2 weeks later, I was in London. We met. We had a great conversation, and I think he was just very intrigued about my background. Again, I had the e-commerce consumer background, as well as the last 10 years of having the life sciences background. And I think that was very important because for David, we never at one moment talked about financial, monetary, or anything like that. I think his main question is like, if we did something together, can we make it the best? And can we put real science in this? And that was kind of his key things, because for him, for the last 30 years, many big brands, individuals, very influential people have reached out to him saying, David, let's go into this category. Right? Since he was 20 years old, right? So he's like 50 now. And he's rejected all of those times. And he's even told me, he's like, hey, Danny, if we did something, why should I work with you? And I gave him my background and certainly I also told him, David, if we did this brand has to survive even beyond you. I think that really resonated with him too, because a lot of people or brands that have approached him before, they were like, hey, this brand is all going to be about you, right? And he actually doesn't like that, right? Because it's like, too much on him. And he also believes that it won't survive, right? If it's just too focused on that.
Was it always daily powders? Did you guys brainstorm other ideas? Like, how did you get to the final product?
I think, again, we wanted to, number one, solve problem, right? Because I think ultimately, what was the problem that we wanted to solve? And even for David, we were talking about his daily supplement regime over the years, and even his current regime, and he had a big, I would say he had a big issue in terms of consistently taking his supplements because he had like a stack of 12, 13, 14 supplements on a daily basis.
We all do. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. And then especially when you're traveling, then it becomes very, very difficult to maintain that routine. Yeah. Him and Victoria both. Right. And then so we started looking at that again. There must be a better way.
So an all-in-one solution was kind of always the talking point.
Yeah. That was kind of like the initial talking point. Again, we knew there was a market demand already, given AG1 was already kind of like, the big gorilla in the house, right?
Is it safe to say it was kind of gut-based, or did you guys do a lot of research? Like, a lot of e-com brands, they do smoke testing, they do tests online, or you guys kind of just had a gut feeling? What was that process like?
I think this speaks to more about my own beliefs, right?
Yeah.
So I think, just my past entrepreneur, I think you have to have a strong belief and that, your idea, based upon your own research, right? I mean, your gut feeling is correct. And to be fair, we did not do any market research in terms of this product.
Yeah.
We just kind of say, you know what, if we did this, in a way, we knew we needed to create something unique, something different, because it could have been, very easy for us just to create another greens powder, which we knew the market already accepted, right? But we went into, I don't want to just be another greens powder. All right. So I was like, right, how do we do that? So that's where you can see everything about the product, the brand, the name, the colors was also very unique because at the end of the day, we're not just selling a product, but we're selling a lifestyle and a community and a commitment to living healthier.
So you get the idea, you align with David Beckham.
Mm-hmm.
Super exciting.
Yeah.
Let's get into supply chain. Like, what comes next? How did you go about building a supply chain, picking countries, ingredients, partners, all of that?
So I would say even before the supply chain piece, right? In terms of course, it wasn't an easy conversation to get David on board because there was multiple conversations.
I'm sure tons
with him and his
exactly.
team. They had to do lots of vetting. I'm sure, they checked out my whole background, my whole team's background, because again, when you're working with someone that is, so iconic, everything has to be very clean.
Of course.
Right? And a good thing that, also we were already a publicly listed company, so our financials, everything is in the public domain, right? So there was a lot of that aspect. But I think once we confirm, hey, let's do this together, that took about, a good 3 to 4 months. Lots of back and forth dialogue, of course. And then we're like, hey, how do we actually recruit the best scientific advisory team members on board?
Yeah.
Right. Because that was very critical, right? Because
proper scientists.
Yeah. Proper scientists.
Yeah.
And this is where, again, we wanted to have different experts in different categories. Yeah, because I think some people's like, there's just no way one doctor or scientist there like specialize in everything, right? So we were very fortunate to get, Dr. Don from Mayo Clinic, Suzanne, which is the director of microbiome from Cedars-Sinai, even the former chief scientist of NASA, James Green, came on board. So we brought along about 8 scientific advisory board members, which has specialties in each of their own fields. And that was very important because that's how I got all these guys on board, to create the formulation as known as Daily Ultimate Essentials, right? Because
so formulation first, before you even get to supply chain, you're kind of testing what's the perfect blend of.
What's the perfect ingredient set?
Yeah.
What's the perfect ingredient set? What are clinical dosages? How much these things should have, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
And then, again, that was a lot of back and forth, but to be fair.
Are we talking like, again, since the lunch with David Beckham, is it plus 1 year or 6 months?
In terms of
like getting to the final set of ingredients.
Getting these final set of ingredients, right? So it was at least, about 6 months period of time, right?
Okay.
So
fast.
Yeah. But the key thing is that we had so many the experts.
Yeah.
Right. So they already had collectively 100 plus years of experience, right?
Yeah.
So we're not starting from scratch. Yeah. And then the great thing about this too is that a lot of experts you see if front and center on our website, this is the first time they've ever worked with a supplement brand, right? And the reason for that is that from day one, we was like, hey, is about transparency. We're really honing on the science piece. And again, the background for my last 10 years at Prenetics, because to be fair to Prenetics-wise, what we're doing diagnostic testing, PCR testing, genetic testing, the science and rigorous aspects that we had is significantly higher when you compare it to the supplement industry, right?
Mhm.
So we wanted to have a very high bar when it came to the science and translating that to the consumer.
It's
health
almost
piece.
easier to kind of back your way into supplements after you had established.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because
Yeah.
many people actually, they told me, hey, Danny, when I was like even explaining, we want to get into the supplement space, everyone's like, Danny, don't get into the supplement space. It's
Yeah.
too